You mean to tell me that not a single human has been successfully assassinated by the Guild in over 50 years? Ambassador Kirksix clicked his mandibles in disbelief, all four eyes fixed on the holographic report floating between them. Not one, replied Director Madison, leaning back in her chair with a slight smirk. Though God knows they've tried. The Guild's lost more operatives trying to take out humans than all other species combined. The ambassador's carapace flushed a deeper shade of blue, the Arcean equivalent of a frustrated blush. But that's impossible. The Guild has a 99.8% success rate across all known sentient species. They've taken down Moravian hive queens, Zentari psychics, even those crystalline bastards from Rigel 7. How can simple humans be— Let me tell you a story, Madison interrupted, pulling up another hologram. This one showed security footage from about 15 years ago. See that guy right there? That's Ellie Thompson, night janitor at the Milwaukee Public Library. The Guild sent their top operative, the legendary Shadow of Seven Moons, to take him out. Want to know what happened? Kirksix leaned forward, fascinated despite himself. Derek had just finished mopping the third floor when the Shadow made his move. Now this assassin had centuries of experience, cybernetic enhancements worth more than most planets' GDPs, and enough deadly toxins in his system to kill a small army. He'd never failed a contract. The footage played, showing a middle-aged man in coveralls whistling as he pushed his mop bucket. The Shadow dropped from the ceiling right behind Derek, silent as space itself. Perfect form, perfect timing. Derek? He slipped on his own wet floor, stumbled backward, and accidentally clotheslined the galaxy's deadliest assassin with his mop handle. Kirksix's mandibles dropped open. You're joking. Oh, it gets better, Madison chuckled. The Shadow went flying, crashed into a book cart, and got buried under an avalanche of romance novels. Knocked himself out cold. Derek? He just assumed some kid had been sleeping in the library again. Called security to help the poor fellow, and went right back to mopping. But that's just luck. That's what we thought too, at first. But then it kept happening. Over and over. The Guild sent their best, their brightest, their most lethal. And every single time, something ridiculous would happen. One assassin slipped on a banana peel. Actual banana peel. And fell out a window into a passing garbage truck. Another got taken out by a stray frisbee during a park assassination attempt. My personal favorite was the one who tried to poison a target's coffee, only to discover humans drink their coffee so ridiculously hot, it destroyed the molecular structure of the toxin. Madison pulled up more footage, showing a montage of increasingly absurd failed assassination attempts. The Guild started calling it the human factor. They tried everything. Probability manipulation, quantum targeting, even time loops. Nothing worked. If anything, the more complex the assassination plot, the more spectacularly it would backfire. But there must be a scientific explanation, Kirksix protested, his scientific training warring with what he was seeing. Oh, we've had every expert in the galaxy study it. The leading theory? Humans are just too weird. We're walking chaos generators, perpetually stumbling through life in ways that defy probability itself. The universe seems to bend around our sheer stupid luck. She gestured at another hologram, this one showing statistical analyses. Did you know humans are the only known species that regularly survives things that should be 100% fatal? We've had people fall from orbit and walk away with a headache. People who've been officially dead for hours just deciding to wake up and complain about missing lunch. The Guild's sophisticated assassination plans don't fail because they're flawed. They fail because humans are fundamentally glitched. Kirksix stared at the data, his scientific worldview crumbling. This changes everything. The diplomatic implications alone. Yeah, funny how nobody wants to start a war with the species that can't be assassinated. Madison grinned. But here's the real kicker. Want to know the Guild's current policy on human contracts? The ambassador nodded weakly. They'll still take the money, but instead of sending assassins, they just send a strongly worded letter suggesting the target should maybe consider having an accident. Apparently it's more cost-effective. A letter? Kirksix's voice rose several octaves. The deadliest organization in the galaxy sends a letter? With a very polite please and everything, Madison confirmed, thoroughly enjoying the ambassador's existential crisis. They even include safety tips, since most humans are more likely to accidentally kill themselves than be successfully assassinated. It's actually reduced our mortality rates. Turns out the galaxy's most deadly assassins give great advice about watching your cholesterol and wearing sunscreen. Kirksix slumped in his chair, All four eyes glazed. I need a drink. Careful with that, Madison warned. Human alcohol once sent 3 guild assassins to the hospital. They tried to poison a target's whiskey and made the mistake of taste testing it first. Turns out what we drink for fun is classified as a military-grade neurotoxin on most worlds. You're enjoying this far too much, the ambassador grumbled. Hey, when you're part of a species that accidentally conquered death by being too chaotic to kill properly, you learn to appreciate the humor in it. Madison stood, stretching. Come on, I'll buy you a drink. Non-toxic version, promise. And I'll tell you about the time a guild assassin tried to take out a human diplomat during a golf game. What's golf? Oh, you're going to love this. As they left the office, Krksix couldn't help but notice that Madison seemed to trip on absolutely nothing, stumble forward, and somehow catch herself in a way that perfectly avoided the cleaning drone that zoomed through the space where her head would have been. She hadn't even noticed. The ambassador made a mental note to update his species' official policy on human relations. The new classification would read, "Approach with caution, not because they're dangerous, but because the laws of probability throw a tantrum whenever they're around." Somewhere in the galaxy, in an office that technically didn't exist, the Guild's board of directors was having their weekly meeting. On the agenda, yet another failed human assassination attempt. So, let me get this straight, the chair being said, all 7 of its appendages massaging its temples. Our operative's perfect plan was ruined because the target's cat knocked over a plant, which startled a bird, which flew into a delivery drone, which crashed into a power line, which caused a blackout, which triggered a backup generator, which overloaded and launched a manhole cover into the air, which then, the junior agent consulted his notes, perfectly intercepted our operative's plasma bolt and reflected it back at him. And the human? Complained about the power outage ruining their video game progress and ordered pizza. The chair being stared into the middle distance for a long moment. Right. New policy. If anyone even suggests taking a human contract, they have to watch the compiled footage of our previous attempts first. All 47,000 hours of it. But sir, that's cruel. So is watching our best assassins get taken out by random chance and cat videos. The chair being shuddered. I still have nightmares about the Roomba incident. The junior agent winced. Nobody talked about the Roomba incident. Meanwhile, back in Milwaukee, Ellie Thompson was still happily mopping floors at the public library, blissfully unaware that he was considered one of the most unkillable beings in the galaxy. He'd recently received another one of those strange letters suggesting he watch his step on ladders and maybe consider eating more vegetables. Such nice folks, he muttered, pinning it to his refrigerator next to the others. Writing to warn me about the dangers of high cholesterol. Don't get that kind of personal attention much these days. He turned back to his crossword puzzle, accidentally avoiding 3 separate death traps, 2 temporal paradoxes, and a quantum assassination attempt simply by deciding to make a sandwich at exactly the right moment. The universe watched, sighed, and added another tally to the failed attempts column. Some species were just too weird to kill. 6 months after the conversation between Madison and Ambassador Krksix, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The topic, the human problem, as it had come to be known. Order! Order in the Council! Supreme Chancellor Vkr'lak banged his gravitational gavel, sending ripples of silence through the chamber. We are here to discuss the unprecedented situation regarding human integration into galactic society. A Zentari representative floated forward, their crystalline form shimmering with anxiety. Supreme Chancellor, my people demand action. 3 of our most prestigious probability architects attempted to calculate human behavior patterns last week. All 3 experienced complete mental breakdowns. One of them is now convinced they're a quantum toaster. The chair recognizes the concerns of the Zentari collective, Vkr'lak sighed. However, if I may interrupt, a new voice cut in. The assembled delegates turned to see Director Madison strolling into the chamber, casually sipping from a takeout coffee cup. Several delegates instinctively flinched, knowing that human beverages were classified as weapons of mass destruction on most worlds. Director Madison, Vkr'lak acknowledged, trying to hide his nervousness. This is a closed session. Oh, I know, she grinned. I got lost looking for the bathroom and accidentally found a secret passage behind a vending machine. Funny how that happens, right? The entire chamber fell silent. Everyone present knew that the Council's security systems were supposedly impenetrable. The fact that a human had wandered in by accident was disturbingly on brand. Since I'm here, Madison continued, maybe I can help clear up some misconceptions. You're all worried about humans destabilizing galactic society, right? Your species defies probability itself. The Zentari representative vibrated in agitation. Just last week, a human tourist visited our quantum gardens. They tripped, fell through 17 probability barriers, and accidentally solved a mathematical theorem that had stumped our greatest minds for centuries. Did they now? Madison raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. They wrote it down on a napkin while eating lunch? A pizza box. The Zentari admitted miserably. They were using it to calculate the tip. Madison tried not to laugh. She really did. But the sight of the galaxy's most sophisticated mathematical minds being outdone by someone's pizza math was too much. It's not funny, another delegate burst out. Do you know what happened when humans joined the Galactic Olympics? The quantum finishing lines got confused. They couldn't tell if humans were actually winning or just accidentally ending up in first place through improbable series of events. Hey, that pole vaulter only landed on the winner's podium because he was running away from a bee, Madison protested. Not our fault he set a new galactic record in the process. The council chamber erupted in chaos, with delegates shouting over each other about various human-induced probability disasters. Madison calmly sipped her coffee, waiting for the noise to die down. Silence! Vkr'lak's gavel created actual gravitational waves this time. Director Madison, surely you must understand our concerns. Your species is disrupting the natural order. Are we, though? Madison set down her coffee. Or are we just showing you that the universe is weirder than you thought? Yes, humans seem to bend probability. Yes, we accidentally solve impossible problems while trying to figure out pizza tips. And yes, sometimes we stumble through quantum barriers because we're not paying attention to where we're going. But has anyone considered that maybe this is how the universe is supposed to work? She gestured broadly at the assembled delegates. You all tried to make sense of the cosmos by creating rules and systems and probabilities. Humans? We just kind of wing it. And somehow that works better than all your careful calculations. That's precisely the problem, the Zentari representative chimed in. You can't just wing it through space-time. Watch us, Madison winked. In fact, she was interrupted by an alarm blaring through the chamber. Red lights began flashing as a computerized voice announced, Warning, quantum core destabilization detected. Catastrophic reality failure imminent. The delegates panicked, some trying to flee, others frozen in terror. Only Madison seemed unmoved, continuing to sip her coffee. Oh yeah, she mentioned casually. I should probably tell you that I spilled some of this coffee on a quantum processor on my way in. Might want to look into that. The quantum core is beyond saving, someone screamed. We need to evacuate the entire sector. Or, Madison suggested, you could try turning it off and on again. The chamber fell silent once more, this time in sheer disbelief. That's not how quantum processors work, Vkr'lak stated flatly. You sure about that? Because I'm pretty sure my coffee created a caffeine-powered quantum tunnel that's currently connecting the processor to a high school computer lab in Pittsburgh, circa 1995. And you know what they taught us about computers in 1995? She walked over to the main control panel, found the power button, and pressed it. Then waited 30 seconds and pressed it again. The alarm stopped. The red lights faded. The quantum core's status returned to normal. Sometimes, Madison addressed the stunned silence, the simplest solution is the right one, even if it doesn't make sense. Especially if it doesn't make sense. She finished her coffee and tossed the cup into a nearby recycling bin. It bounced off 3 different surfaces before landing perfectly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I really do need to find that bathroom. As she left the chamber, Ambassador Vkr'lak, who had been watching the proceedings with a mixture of horror and amusement, leaned over to his aide. Add another line to our policy on humans, he whispered. Do not, under any circumstances, let them near quantum technology with beverages. And maybe start researching what this turning it off and on again technique is. Could be useful. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Ellie Thompson was having another normal day at the library. He'd just received another letter from his mysterious pen pals. This one warning him about the dangers of quantum radiation exposure while using the microwave. Huh, he mused, reading it during his lunch break. Never thought about standing back from the microwave before. These folks think of everything. He took 3 steps back from the break room microwave, unknowingly avoiding a temporal rift that would have sent him to the Jurassic period. His cup of noodles finished heating without incident. The Guild's latest assassination attempt, involving complex quantum targeting and 3 weeks of planning, had just been foiled by a safety tip they themselves had sent. The universe, as usual, pretended not to notice. The Galactic Scientific Academy was in an uproar.
Again, I refuse to accept these findings.
Professor Ixtal slammed all three of their appendages onto the conference table. It completely contradicts everything we know about causality. Dr. Harriet Reynolds, Earth's leading expert on whatever the hell humans do to reality, officially termed Homo sapiens probability displacement theory, simply smiled and adjusted her slightly crooked glasses. The data doesn't lie, Professor. We've run the experiments thousands of times. Humans don't just bend probability. We're essentially quantum probability sponges. We absorb unlikely events like they're going out of style. She pulled up a holographic display showing various experimental results. Look at this. When we place a human in a controlled environment and introduce potential catastrophes, the improbable events don't just fail to harm them. They actively benefit from the chaos. The footage showed a test subject casually walking through what should have been a lethal obstacle course. Every trap and danger somehow transformed into an advantage. Laser beams reflected off their watch to disable security systems. Falling debris created perfect stepping stones, and random quantum fluctuations inevitably resulted in coffee and donuts materializing nearby. This defies all known laws of physics, another scientist protested.
No, Dr. Reynolds corrected. It defies all known laws of physics that non-humans came up with. Has anyone considered that maybe we're observing the universe's actual behavior, and your mathematical models are the things that are wrong? The assembled aliens stared at her in horror. The suggestion that their centuries of scientific advancement might be upended by humans accidentally stumbling into a more accurate understanding of reality was distressing. But how do you explain the coffee? Professor Ixtal demanded.
Every human testing facility reports spontaneous coffee manifestation. It's not possible.
Have you tried being really tired and really wanting coffee? Dr. Reynolds asked.
Because that's our working theory. Human desire for caffeine actually warps space-time. Before anyone could respond to this heretical suggestion, alarms began blaring throughout the facility.
Alert! Alert! Containment breach in the quantum probability engine. Reality destabilization imminent.
The alien scientists panicked, but Dr. Reynolds just checked her watch.
Oh, right on schedule. That'll be Derek.
Derek? The librarian? What's he doing here?
Nothing. He's still in Milwaukee, but it's his lunch break, and he always heats up leftovers at exactly 12:47. The quantum probability waves from his microwave usage tend to resonate with any sensitive equipment within a few light years. She walked over to the facility's main control panel and pressed a few buttons.
There we go. Crisis averted. We've learned to synchronize our systems with Derek's lunch schedule. Makes everything run smoother. The alien scientist stared at her, mandibles, tentacles, probability sensors drooping in disbelief.
You calibrated a multi-trillion credit research facility around one human's eating habits?
Well, yeah. It was easier than trying to convince him to change his routine. Last time someone tried that, they accidentally created a temporal paradox that made Tuesday happen twice. Meanwhile, in a secret meeting room that technically existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously, the Guild's board of directors was reviewing their latest financial reports.
This is unprecedented, the chairman announced.
Our revenue has increased 300%
since we started sending warning letters instead of assassins to human targets. Turns out humans really appreciate health and safety tips, the junior agent explained. They've started a subscription service. People pay us to receive regular updates about potential dangers in their daily lives. So we're making more money by helping humans avoid accidents than we ever did trying to kill them. Yes, sir. And our workplace injury rates have dropped to 0 since we're not losing assassins to improbable human-related incidents anymore. The chair being was quiet for a moment.
Have we considered expanding into the insurance industry?
Back in Milwaukee, Derek Thompson was having a perfectly normal day. He'd just finished his lunch, leftover lasagna, heated precisely at 12:47, when he noticed something odd about his latest letter from his mysterious pen pals. He mused, reading it carefully. They're offering dental insurance now. Pretty comprehensive coverage, too. Even includes temporal paradox-induced tooth displacement and quantum cavity protection. Don't remember seeing those options from other insurance companies. He filled out the form, accidentally preventing 3 separate assassination attempts through the precise way he dotted his I's, and went back to work. That evening, Director Madison was giving Ambassador Kirksix a tour of Earth's first quantum probability research center.
So you're telling me, Kirksix said slowly,
That you built this entire facility after discovering it was already affecting your experiments?
Yep. Turns out the quantum echoes of the facility were reaching back in time and influencing our initial research, so we technically built it because it was already built, which is why we had to build it. That makes no sense. Welcome to Earth, Madison grinned.
Where causality comes to die and coffee breaks the laws of physics. Want to see our paradox cafeteria? Every meal is guaranteed to both exist and not exist until you try to eat it.
Crumble carapace was starting to develop a stress pattern. I think I need a drink. Careful with the quantum cocktails. They have a probability of either being the best or worst drink you've ever had, but you won't know which until you've finished it. How do humans live like this? Honestly, most of us don't even notice. We're too busy trying to figure out why our socks keep disappearing in the dryer. And why do they? Oh, that's not a quantum thing. That's just regular dryer stuff. Some mysteries even we can't solve. As they walked through the facility, neither of them noticed the small temporal distortion following them, carefully taking notes. The Guild had branched out into quantum physics research, hoping to understand how humans did. Whatever it was humans did. So far, their only concrete finding was that the more you tried to understand humans, the less sense they made. And somehow that was working out just fine for everyone involved. The universe, as always, declined to comment. The First Galactic University of Probability Mathematics was having its annual faculty meeting, and things were not going well.
Absolutely not!
Dean Zakortax's tentacles waved in agitation.
We cannot add human factors as a mandatory course for all mathematics students. It's necessary, suggested Professor Emily Martinez, Earth's representative to the university.
Unless you want another incident like last semester's Great Calculator Rebellion.
The assembled faculty shuddered. Nobody had expected that introducing human exchange students to advanced probability calculators would result in the devices gaining sentience and demanding coffee breaks.
The calculators are still sending us union demands, someone muttered.
Exactly my point, Emily nodded. We need to teach students how to account for human probability fields in their calculations. Otherwise, we're just setting them up for failure. Or worse, accidental breakthroughs that nobody understands. She pulled up a holographic presentation. Look at these statistics. Since humans entered galactic society, we've seen a 3,000% increase in accidental scientific discoveries, a 500% rise in spontaneous quantum enlightenment, and a concerning trend of vending machines achieving consciousness. The vending machines aren't our fault, Dean Zakortax protested.
That was clearly a result of 3 human students trying to get their money back after a failed snack purchase, Emily finished.
They kicked the machine in perfect synchronization, accidentally creating a consciousness-inducing probability wave. And now it's teaching philosophy classes, someone added. Better than the quantum coffee maker in the faculty lounge, another professor grumbled.
Its lectures on existentialism are incredibly depressing. Meanwhile, in an office that existed in a quantum superposition of every major business district in the galaxy, the Guild's board of directors was reviewing their latest venture, Improbability Insurance and Human Safety Tips, LLC. Our profits continue to exceed all rational expectations, the chair being announced proudly.
Who would have thought that our centuries of assassination expertise would translate so well into workplace safety consulting? The humans especially appreciate our detailed analysis of how they might accidentally prevent their own deaths, the junior agent added.
Though I'm still not sure how that one office worker managed to avoid 3 separate fatal accidents by rearranging their desk, using feng shui principles they saw on Pinterest.
Don't try to understand it, the chair being advised. We've hired the galaxy's best probability mathematicians to analyze human behavior patterns, and all they've managed to conclude is somehow this works. Speaking of which, our Milwaukee branch has some interesting news about Derek Thompson. The librarian? What's he done now? Nothing intentionally. But his new dental insurance claim form? The way he filled it out somehow prevented an incoming meteor strike, solved a 300-year-old mathematical paradox, and improved the taste of airline food throughout the galaxy. The chair being's tentacles twitched.
The prevailing theory is that his handwriting is somehow probability optimal. We've had experts study it, but every time they think they understand the pattern, they end up discovering a new fundamental force of nature instead. Back on Earth, Director Madison was giving yet another orientation session for new alien diplomatic staff.
Rule number 1, she explained to the nervous group of ambassadors. Don't try to predict what humans will do. The act of prediction itself changes the probability matrix, usually resulting in something even more improbable happening instead. But how do we prepare for human interactions? A particularly anxious Centauri crystal formation chimed. That's the neat part. You don't. Just accept that something weird will happen and roll with it. Trust me, it's easier on your sanity. Is it true, a tentacled diplomat asked, that humans have started weaponizing their probability fields? Madison laughed.
We tried, but it turns out you can't weaponize something you don't understand and can't control. Though we did accidentally create world peace 3 times while attempting the experiments. 3 times? Yeah, but it never sticks. Turns out lasting peace can only be achieved through careful diplomacy and understanding, not probability accidents. Though we did get some excellent recipes for interstellar comfort food out of the attempts. At that moment, in the Milwaukee Public Library, Derek Thompson was having a peculiar day. His mysterious pen pals had sent him another letter, this one warning him about the dangers of improper bookmark usage. He mused, reading it during his break. Never thought about how a bookmark at the wrong angle could cause a temporal paradox. These folks really think of everything. He carefully adjusted his bookmark, unknowingly preventing the formation of an alternate timeline where books had gained sentience and enslaved humanity. Then he went back to shelving books, whistling tunelessly. The tune, by pure coincidence, matched the resonant frequency of quantum probability waves. Somewhere in the galaxy, a team of scientists studying these waves suddenly found their equations dancing across their screens in perfect rhythm. Oh no, one of them groaned. He's whistling again. In the university's quantum cafeteria, the newly sentient vending machine was holding court with a group of graduate students. Consider, it hummed philosophically while dispensing snacks, the metaphysical implications of a species that breaks reality simply by existing. Are humans the universe's way of introducing controlled chaos? Or is chaos the natural state, and the rest of us are simply too rigid in our understanding? That's deep, a student muttered, munching on probability-shifted chips that tasted different with each bite. Indeed, the vending machine agreed, though not as deep as the existential crisis the coffee maker is having. It started questioning whether non-coffee-based life forms truly exist. Professor Martinez, passing by, made a mental note to schedule another mandatory seminar on coping with accidentally uplifted artificial intelligence. It would be the 3rd one this semester. The universe, watching all of this unfold, might have sighed in resignation. But since no one could prove whether the universe itself was conscious, though there was a betting pool among human quantum physicists, this remains purely speculative. What wasn't speculative was the growing stack of letters on Derek Thompson's refrigerator, each containing increasingly specific safety tips that somehow prevented galaxy-spanning disasters. The latest one warned him about the proper way to sort library books, noting that improper alphabetization may cause ripples in the space-time continuum. Derek, being a conscientious employee, took this advice very seriously. And thus, through the simple act of properly shelving books, he continued to maintain the delicate balance of an entire galaxy's worth of improbability. Just another day in a universe that had learned to cope with humans by simply pretending everything was normal.